The text outlines 4 foundational pillars. It essentially maps out who brings what to this ecosystem, and it uses very specific, culturally weighty concepts from the original text. Let's look at the breakdown.
Okay.
So first, the mother's contribution. That is tied directly to the family's blessings or fortune.
Right.
Then the father's contribution provides the status or the prosperity.
The external piece.
Yeah. And then moving to the broader generational structure, the elders dictate the family's longevity. And finally, the children bring the joy or vitality.
When you look closely at those 4 pillars, you realize it is essentially a formula for a complete human experience.
It's a complete ecosystem.
Yes. You cannot have a thriving, multi-generational institution if you are missing any of those elements. But we do need to define what those terms actually mean in practice.
Because blessings or status can sound a bit abstract.
Very abstract, or even a bit dated if you don't look past the literal words.
Right, let's start right there. Because in a contemporary context, looking at those first 2 roles, the mother bringing blessings and the father bringing status, how do we interpret that without getting bogged down in rigid mid-century gender roles?
It's a very fair question.
I mean, for a modern audience, that initial mapping might sound a bit archaic.
It is a fair critique if you look at it purely literally. But the philosophical origins of these concepts are less about strict biological roles and more about the necessary balance of energies within the home.
Energetic loads.
Exactly. The concept of blessings or fortune here refers to the internal emotional and spiritual thermostat of the house.
The thermostat. I like that.
It's the grounding, nurturing energy that creates psychological safety. Think of the family as a garden.
Okay, I'm with you.
This blessing energy is the fertile soil. You can't cultivate anything without that foundational sense of being blessed, of having enough, of being safe.
So it's the internal anchor.
Yes.
Which means the status or prosperity associated with the father represents the external interface.
Precisely. To use the garden analogy, the prosperity is the trellis. It's the structural boundary.
The fences keeping the deer out.
Exactly. It represents the family standing in the community, the acquisition of resources, and that protective framework that allows the internal blessings, the soil, to actually flourish securely.
That makes total sense. So whether it's a dual income household where both partners share these energetic loads.
Right, dividing the soil and the trellis work.
Yeah, or a completely non-traditional family structure, the core mechanic remains the same.
The ecosystem doesn't care who does what, as long as the roles are filled.
A prosperous family requires both the profound internal nurturing of fortune and the solid external architecture of status.
Because if you have all the external status in the world but no internal warmth, the family just feels like a corporation.
A business arrangement.
Right. And if you have immense warmth but no external stability, the family is highly vulnerable to the chaos of the outside world.
That reframing makes a lot of sense. You need the fertile soil and you need the protective fencing around it, and then the sources layer in the generational components.
The deep roots and the new growth.
Yes. They explicitly tie the elders to longevity and the children to joy.
The inclusion of elders as the pillar of longevity is particularly profound, I think.
Especially today.
In our highly individualized culture, we so often view aging merely as a biological decline, a fading out.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
But this framework positions the older generation as the vital institutional memory of the family ecosystem. They are those deep roots in the garden.
They anchor the whole thing.
They offer a historical context that proves to the younger generations that the family can endure hardship. They've weathered storms. They represent the passage of time. They aren't just living longer. They're actively anchoring the family's identity.
And the children serve as the counterweight to that?
The balance.
Because the deep roots of the elders provide endurance, but without the children bringing joy and vitality, that endurance could easily just stagnate into rigidity.
It becomes a museum instead of a garden.
A museum. That's a great way to put it. The children are the blooming flowers. They force the ecosystem to adapt, to experience spontaneous joy, and to constantly look toward the future.
That is the beautiful interdependence the text is pointing toward. You can have the psychological safety, the external resources, and the deep historical roots. But if you lack the vibrant, unpredictable joy of new growth,
the family is functionally barren.
It is. It's a complete interdependent machine.
Which brings us to the actual operational reality of running that machine.
The day-to-day.
Because understanding the overarching structure is great in theory, it's beautiful, but it doesn't necessarily help you on a chaotic Tuesday morning when the mortgage is due and everyone is stressed out trying to get out the door.
Theory hits reality very quickly.
Right, so here's where it gets really interesting. The sources transition from these structural roles to highly specific, actionable attitudes.
They do.
They explicitly draw a line between internal family behaviors and external real-world success.
This is where the text shifts from philosophy to hardcore strategy.
And the claims made here are bold. They really are. The material highlights 3 specific behavioral pillars: harmony, tolerance, and humility. But it doesn't frame them as mere moral suggestions. It's not just saying, hey, you should be nice to your siblings.
No, it's much more pragmatic than that.
It argues that these internal behaviors are the direct levers you pull to manipulate your external reality.
For your literal success in the world.
Yeah. For instance, the text claims that maintaining harmony inside the home is the specific key to attracting wealth and fortune outside the home.
Which sounds wild at first.
It really does. Connecting internal family harmony directly to external financial wealth is a massive leap. How exactly do the sources justify that bridge?
It does sound almost mystical at first glance. But it is actually deeply grounded in human psychology and cognitive bandwidth.
Cognitive bandwidth. Let's dig into that.
Think about the sheer amount of energy required to sustain domestic conflict.
It's exhausting.
It is. When a home lacks harmony, when there is constant bickering, unaddressed resentment, or just a pervasive atmosphere of tension, the individuals within that ecosystem are draining their mental, emotional, and physical resources just trying to navigate their own living room.
So they are essentially burning their capital before they even leave the front door.
Exactly. You wake up and you're already in a deficit.
Right.
But when harmony is present, all of that cognitive bandwidth is preserved. You go out into the marketplace, into your career, or into your investments with a full reservoir.
You have your full capacity.
You are less reactive. You have the clarity to make better strategic decisions. You possess the emotional intelligence to negotiate effectively. And you just have the raw energy to recognize opportunities that a stressed mind would simply miss entirely.
Wow.
So external wealth in this framework is just the natural compounding byproduct of internal operational efficiency.
I want you, the listener, to really consider that dynamic in your own life for a second. Think about your own day. Think about how much easier it is to tackle a high-stakes project at work or to navigate a really difficult client when you have walked out of a peaceful, supportive home that morning.
It's night and day.
The outside world is chaotic enough. If your foundation is solid, you are operating from a massive competitive advantage.
And that strategic advantage is expanded upon with the next 2 actionable attitudes the text introduces.
Tolerance and humility.
Yes. Tolerance, or inclusion, and humility,
Right.
which is often translated as yielding.
Right. The sources state that tolerance and humility are the exact ingredients required for things to go smoothly and successfully in life.
The frictionless life.
Yeah. The implication is that if you want a frictionless life where things generally go your way, you must aggressively practice tolerance and humility within your family unit.
Aggressively practice it, yes.
But I have to push back on this a bit.
Go for it.
Because in today's highly individualized hustle culture, the idea of yielding sounds an awful lot like giving up.
It sounds like losing.
It does. We are constantly told to assert our boundaries, to demand our worth, and to literally never back down. How does the text differentiate between healthy humility and just being a doormat in your own home?
That is the great modern paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
We are so conditioned to view every single interaction as a zero-sum game, where yielding equals losing.
Right, someone has to win.
But the wisdom of this framework treats humility not as a weakness, but as a highly sophisticated tool for friction reduction.
Friction reduction.
Being a doormat implies a complete lack of self-worth. You yield because you feel inferior. You have no boundary.
Right.
Humility, on the other hand, in the context of family prosperity, is a conscious strategic choice made from a position of absolute strength.
It's choosing the health of the ecosystem over the ego of the individual.
Precisely. Let's look at a modern scenario.
Okay.
Imagine a high-stress, 2-income household trying to get the kids ready for school.
A very familiar scene for many.
The tension is high. Everyone is rushing. Someone forgets to pack a lunch, or a kid's shoe goes missing.
It's always a missing shoe.
Always. Now, the ego's default reaction is to immediately assign blame, to assert that I didn't make this mistake, you did, and to initiate a conflict just to prove who is right.
Which instantly spikes the stress levels of the entire house, delaying everyone even further.
Right. The goal was to leave the house, but now the goal is to win an argument about a shoe.
Which helps no one.
Exactly.
Right.
But practicing tolerance accepting that the people you live with are just flawed, stressed humans, and practicing humility, yielding the need to be right in that exact moment. It instantly diffuses the situation.
You absorb the minor inconvenience.
You absorb it to protect the larger momentum of the family. You realize that winning a minor argument over a misplaced shoe is infinitely less valuable than preserving the frictionless operational state of the household.
So humility really is the oil in the gears.
It is the lubricant.
If you are constantly battling over every tiny friction point, you are programming your nervous system for conflict. And that programming follows you right out the door. It follows you into your workday, into your friendships, into your financial decisions.
It bleeds into everything.
But by practicing the humility to just let the small stuff go, you create a profound momentum. Everything just hums.
And when a family actually masters that daily maintenance, they unlock the capacity to look toward the horizon.
The future.
Because keeping the peace for a week or a year is one challenge. But the ultimate goal of these 10 pillars is sustaining prosperity across generations.
That brings us to the final and perhaps the most complex section of the source material, the long game.
The hardest part.
To secure the family's legacy over decades, the text highlights two ultimate pillars. Unity meaning working together with one heart and the passing down of good traditions.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the source material presents a truly masterful conclusion about how multi-generational success is actually achieved.
It's not just about money.
Not at all. It isn't just about accumulating wealth and handing over a trust fund. It is a highly delicate, lifelong tension between two forces.
Personal cultivation and collective harmony.
Yes, personal cultivation and collective harmony.
Let's really pull this tension apart because it seems to be the crux of the entire philosophy.
It is the engine.
Personal cultivation demands that the individual focuses heavily on themselves. It's the continuous pursuit of improving one's own character, mastering one's skills, and taking brutal responsibility for one's own flaws.
It is an absolute requirement. The text is very clear that collective harmony cannot exist if it is built on a foundation of uncultivated, chaotic individuals.
You can't build a strong house with rotten wood.
Exactly. You cannot have a prosperous family if the members are stagnant, undisciplined, or totally lacking self-awareness. The overall resilience of the family depends entirely on the strength and character of each individual member.
But, and this is the truly fascinating part, individual character and personal growth mean absolutely nothing in this framework if they do not serve the unity of the group.
They have to serve the whole.
Right. If your personal cultivation makes you arrogant, or if your intense pursuit of self-improvement isolates you from your family's needs, then you have essentially failed the ecosystem.
This is where we can use the analogy of a symphony orchestra.
Oh, I love this.
Personal cultivation is each musician sitting entirely alone in a practice room. They are tuning their instrument perfectly and agonizing over their technique for thousands of hours.
Doing the hard, solitary work?
That individual mastery is non-negotiable. If they don't do that work, the orchestra sounds terrible.
But if they bring that perfectly tuned instrument to the concert hall and simply play whatever they want as loudly as they can just to showcase their individual brilliance?
It isn't music.
It's just noise.
That is the exact tension. Collective harmony occurs when all of those individually cultivated masters sit down together and choose to read from the same sheet music.
They yield to one another.
They yield. They listen to the tempo of the group. Their individual brilliance doesn't disappear. Rather, it is elevated and contextualized by becoming part of a unified whole.
That brings the concept of tradition into really sharp focus.
Yes.
In this framework, the traditions passed down by the family are the sheet music.
The shared score.
They are the shared values, the rituals, the stories of overcoming adversity that ensure everyone knows exactly what song the family is playing.
Without those traditions, even a group of highly cultivated, well-meaning individuals will eventually just drift out of sync with one another.
They lose the rhythm.
Traditions act as the cultural memory of the ecosystem. They remind the current generation of the harmony that was built by the elders.
The roots.
And they provide a highly reliable template for the children to follow. When the sources emphasize unity working together with one heart, they're describing a unity that stretches backward to honor the ancestors